Hey everybody, Gamer Joe Coffee here. Today we are back to talk about hunting in Palia. So I've done a lot of hunting in Palia in my short time here, coming up on 6 months in game, and I've learned quite a lot, done quite a lot in that short period of time. So from the speedy Chapaas to the tricky shmoles, we're fixing to break down the tactics of hunting for each creature in Palia so you can hunt smarter and not harder. So let's get brewing. So hunting in Palia is not just simply aim and shoot. You can get away with that early on, and that does do the trick for the most part, but there are some unique characteristics of each creature that will help you further progress and kill things quicker and easier and with less stress. So we're fixing to dive into creature by creature. We're going to cover Chapaas, Sernuks, Muujins, Ogopuu, and shmoles. And we're going to go over each one and their unique characteristics and how you can best combat some of those. So first things first, the simplest thing you can do is upgrade your tool, upgrade your bow, and upgrade your arrows. Or use some of the custom arrows. So there are multiple arrow types. You have the basic ones, the copper ones, and the iron ones. And then you have the Dispel arrows, which are the Pallium arrows, which tend to prevent certain attributes of the creature from happening, we'll say. I'll cover those in detail here in a minute. Then there's also the Slowdown arrow. Now the Slowdown arrow has recently been changed to do less damage than it used to initially. So right now it's mostly good for slowing them down, and it can become useful depending on which animal you're hunting. But for the most part, I tend to use the fine iron arrows, and then of course my bow is upgraded fully to Pallium, and that does make things considerably easier in the long run. So first things first, we have the Chapaas. You have the little Chapaas, you have the medium Chapaas, and then you have those magical splitter Chapaas, the little azure Chapaas that split into pieces. There are some unique ways to hunt them. Now the basic ones are easy. Pop, pop, pop. They're pretty simple. The medium ones take a little bit more damage. For those two types, if you don't have good enough arrows to just single shot the little guys, they will kind of zigzag and skirt around like crazy. You're gonna have to get up close to them as best you can and try to chase them down, maybe corner them into a wall. That works for the basic ones and the medium-sized ones. Now, as your bow gets stronger and your arrows get stronger, that first one will become an instant shot, no problem. The second one will take a couple hits, not a big deal. Now the key is for the big boy, the Azure Chapaa. So the Azure one is a magical Chapaa that can be found in Bahari Bay, and when you scare it, it will split into multiple pieces. Now, when you use the Dispel arrow, it will prevent that splitting from happening, or rejoin the ones that have split already. So this is where my little trick that I just discovered on my own comes into play. So what you can do is you can hit them with the arrow first, and it will prevent them from splitting, and then you'll just kill them normally while they run away. But if you wait and scare them intentionally, they will split into 5 or 6 or however many little Chapaas. All you have to do is hit one of those split Chapaas with the Dispel arrow, and that Chapaa will be stunned. So the new Chapaa will reform from the 6 to the 1, and the real one will be stunned and standing still. Easy prey. So I do recommend that you wait and you force them to split. Then you hit one of them with the Dispel arrow, and quickly change over to your normal arrows and take him down before he can take off running again. It makes it so much easier if you wait for them to split first before hitting them with that Dispel arrow. That stun is just, it's everything. That stun is everything. It makes them so easy to kill. So next are the Sernuks. The Sernuks are the deer, and we know. So the Sernuks, it's generally better to hunt them, in my experience, in an open field with less obstacles in the way because they do tend to dart around a lot from one place to the next, and it's best if you can get a shot out in front of them. So for the little one, obviously once your bow and arrow gets upgraded, you're going to one-shot those easy, no issue, with the iron arrows. For the medium one, you're going to want to hit him, and he'll either dart straight forward or he'll start to zigzag back and forth, but it's generally more predictable, like not zigzag back and forth, but he'll go one way or the other. Unlike the Chapaas, which are kind of crazy, but it's generally more predictable, so you can get a shot out in front of him and watch him walk into that arrow. So those are a little easier to predict and hit that way. Then you have the big boy, the magical teleporting deer. This one, it's best, honestly, if you have multiple people. It helps to have the magical arrow, the Dispel arrow, so that way you can prevent them from teleporting. But at the same time, it really helps to have someone with the Slowdown arrow to stop them from just darting away. Because while they do teleport without the Dispel arrow, even with the Dispel arrow, that dude will take off. And he does take quite a few hits to kill him, so it's really, really good if you have someone that can dispel him and slow him down right at the beginning, and then switch over to normal arrows and try to knock him down. So ultimately, that's if you can do that, that's the goal. Next are the Muujin, which are our wolf-like creatures. These guys are tricky. The Chapaas will burrow underground, and the Sernuks will run around like crazy but will never disappear. But the Muujin will run up trees once they're scared and hide in the trees. So what you want to do, obviously the first one again can be one shot once you level up high enough, but what you want to do is you want to try to hit him and kill him before he reaches a tree. But if he does reach a tree, you can chop that tree down to scare him loose again. Again, this does help if you have a group, so one person can chop and one person can hunt, but the chopper does get credit for the kill even if they don't lay an arrow on his head. So it is really, really nice. Now, we have the big guy, the magical wolf, the ghost wolf that I call him. He disappears when scared. The Dispel arrow is nice because it does prevent him from disappearing, but he does still run away quickly and search for the nearest tree. What I have tended to start doing is to start out with a Slowdown arrow, because even if you don't use the Dispel arrow, if you hit him with the Slowdown arrow, you'll see that smoke rise out of him and it'll follow him as he's running around, and you can make out his shape. So even if he is invisible, that Slowdown arrow can kind of give you an idea of where he is and you can shoot him. So personally, if I'm hunting alone, I might try a Slowdown arrow first and try to just take him down. If I do have a group, I'll have one person with a Slowdown arrow, one person with a Dispel arrow, and it just makes that much easier. Because if one person can slow him, the next person can make him completely visible, and then you guys can just down him together. But the Slowdown arrow does make him semi-visible, which makes it a lot easier to kill him and take him down without having to necessarily use your Dispel arrows and run around like crazy. So next are tricky ones. These are the Ogopuu. The Ogopuu, not only do the Ogopuu spit at you, they will spit at you, and if it hits you or you walk into it, it will slow you down. The baby, the medium, and the big one will shoot 1, 2, or 3 spits depending on the tier they are. And that just makes it that much higher of a chance that you get hit with it. Now, the baby one, you're not going to one-shot this guy. He is going to take a few hits for sure, and it does help if you have other people to help hit him as well. You can use the Dispel arrows on all 3 of these to prevent them from spitting. I do not recommend that you use Dispel arrows. What I've noticed is, so if you Dispel arrow, he will no longer spit, so he won't be doing his spit animation. And while yes, you will not be slowed down, but he will immediately start to run away from you. Whereas if you let him spit, you can get off as many arrows as you can while he's spitting, and then chase him down. To me, the Dispel arrows are nigh useless on the Ogopoos and only make them harder to hunt. I would recommend starting with a Slowdown arrow and then pump him full of fine arrows, or just go straight for the fine arrows and try to kill him down before he can get away. The way they work is after that initial spit, they will run around for a little bit normally. Then they'll stop and spit again if you're nearby. And then they'll go up on their hind legs and run like a weird little fish creature until they get to the water, where they'll dive in and try to escape. So the key that I've tended to notice is hit them initially with as much firepower as you can, or a Slowdown if you can. Don't worry about the Dispel arrows. Follow them until their next spit spot, and when they're spitting again, take that opportunity to peg them full of arrows again. Just try to get as many as you can in during that animation, because they're not moving. And then just try to follow them and kill them as best you can. To me, the spitting points are very, very key points to get a lot of damage in before they take off moving again. I cannot more recommend that you do not use Dispel arrows. Just stick to straight killing them. Maybe hit them with the Slowdown arrow to make it a little easier, that they don't run away as much. But make sure you just focus on putting as much damage as you can and knock them down before they can escape. So lastly are the shmoles. The shmoles are area creatures. So the shmoles appear in certain spots on the map, and in that spot there are multiple holes all around. It's whack-a-mole. You're playing whack-a-mole. There are 3 tiers again. You have the smallest one, which you can pretty much one-shot with a normal upgraded bow and normal fine arrows. There's the medium one that might take a couple hits, and then there's actually it might take a couple more hits on the small one. I don't think you can one-shot those quite yet. I don't think so. And then the big one is the pixie shmole. The pixie will create a shield not only around himself, as long as you leave him alive long enough, but he will also create a shield around everyone in that area that are popping up. So the key is, if the pixie pops up, you want to focus the pixie. If you can, you want to hit the pixie as soon as he pops up, or as quickly as you can, because if you keep him on the move, he will not be able to summon his shields. So if you break through the shield and you just keep hitting him every time he pops up, you don't have to worry about the shields. The shields are not an issue. If he does use the shields, you can use a Dispel arrow to get rid of it and to prevent more for a short period of time. Again, if you can just keep hitting him and keep him on the move, you do not have to worry about shields popping up on anybody. Just focus that guy, ignore everyone else for the time being, and just hit him until he no longer is alive to produce shields. To me, that's the easiest way to do it. Is just, if you can, hit him as soon as possible and as fast as possible, so those shields do not become an issue. If they do, you got your Dispel arrows to knock him down. Then rinse and repeat. Hit him as much as you can, and keep him on the run. If you keep him on his toes, he will not bother you as much as some of the other magical creatures do. So, some general hunting tips. As I mentioned before, no matter what your target, upgrade your bows and your arrows as soon as you can. Some of those arrows and bows can one-shot the little guys. Makes it so much easier. Use the environment to your advantage. If you're chasing Sernuks, if you're chasing Muujin. Muujin, not as much. Chapaas and Sernuks primarily. Ogopoos as well, you can do this with. Kind of try to funnel them toward a wall. Especially on the Ogopoos, you can stand between them and the whirlpool, and they'll run away from you and then have to come back towards you, unless there's another whirlpool nearby. So kind of positioning and using the environment to your benefit can be super helpful. As well as just bring friends. Like I mentioned before, it's nice to have somebody that's got a Slowdown arrow, somebody that's got maybe a Dispel arrow if you need it. Otherwise, it's just nice to have people to funnel the creatures in a certain direction and to prevent them from escaping as easily, or to foregoing into areas where it's harder for you to chase them down. So if you can, bring friends, makes it easier, plus you can sometimes get bonus loot. It's just much easier with friends. Palia in general, you don't need friends, but it does make it just a little bit better with friends. So when it comes to hunting is pretty lucrative when it comes to gold. Not only do you get the Muujin mains, you get the Sernuk antlers, and you get the Chapaa tails. All that's worth gold, as well as the materials are good for cooking, crafting, even making decor. So nothing really goes to waste. It's really beneficial and profitable to spend a day out hunting, especially if you have friends and you can sometimes get that extra bonus loot proc, and it gives you double whatever you were normally getting. Much more handy. So finally, whether you're out chasing Chapaas, lining up a Sernuk, or dealing with the Ogopoos running around like crazy, remember that each creature has its own unique tactics, and it does help to approach them with that in mind. Master those tactics and you'll be brewing up XP in no time, believe me. If you did find this hunting guide helpful and the individual tips on the specific creatures, please drop me a like and a subscribe. I might make a video in the future where I go into more detail on the hunting skill in general, but I really wanted to focus this time on specific tactics in case you're having issues with specific creatures. But yeah, if you did find this helpful, drop me a like and a subscribe. If you have any tips that you want to share or you have any questions, drop them in the comments, and I'm always down there chatting with you guys. So drop them down there and I'll be there to interact, or who knows, maybe other people have good tips too that I'm not aware of that maybe I'll learn from as well. But either way, thank you guys so much for watching, and hopefully I'll see you guys in Palia. I've been Gamer Joe Coffee. I hope you guys have a fantastic day and an even better cup of coffee. See you guys next time.